I would like to now answer some questions regarding the Olden Era and that this process. So we were approached, my producer here in California, Rob King, and I were approached to do some music for a 10-cent Heroes game a couple years ago, and so so it was like a Chinese release of a Heroes game. I don't know that it's ever come out to the West yet. It was designed for the Chinese market, and it's a variation of Heroes, and so we worked on that, and it was it's when you're working with a big corporation, it's there's a lot of people involved, so it's difficult from an artistic point of view. When we originally did Heroes music, even 30 years ago, we just did music. I would just write the music the way I wanted to do it without any kind of interference. And if they didn't like that music, then I would just do another piece of music. So it was pretty clear cut. I think these days now you have to have committees. So this is kind of a good point for anybody, any young person who's thinking they want to be a soundtrack composer for a big conglomerate. And so what I find is there's a vetting. You do a piece of music, and everybody on the team has to listen to it, and then you'll get a review of critiques of it's too fast, too slow, too dark, too happy, too many high notes, too many low notes, too whatever the feeling is. And so then you change the music so that it suits the critical needs of the team. So, which is great, but usually computer game teams are not classical musicians, and they're not trained. Like, I haven't really met anybody with the training. Like, in my whole life since I was 3, I was trained by some of the world's greatest artists at 3 of the world's top classical music schools. So my world has been in music and classical music. So my culture has been, in terms of my composing, has been intact since I was 3, because I've always listened to the music that I compose now is a kind of like a digestion of the musical languages that I learned really from a very young age, and have tried to increase those languages, the languages of the great Russian composers, the French composers, and so when I'm writing a piece of classical music, and you have to have all these people who really don't know anything about music tell you which way to take your music, it's not as easy as you think. It's sort of like if you're Leonardo and you're doing a painting for Hollyhock, whoever she is, and she said, "Oh, I don't like the muscles. I don't like the skin tones. I don't like the flowers. I don't like the color of the sky. So can you redo it to do it the way that I like?" So you get a lot of that. So you get a lot of corporate influences in how you build the music. So in regard to the Olden Era, I thought I would try to do this one without my producer, Rob King, who usually is the go-between me and the company. And so far, I spent 6 months on it from August to January, coming up with about I came up with 5 pieces of music, but within each piece of music there are multiple melodies. So it's not like just one tune, and that tune keeps repeating the whole time throughout the piece of music. So a piece of music, even if it's 4 minutes long, is comprised of many components. So you gotta have you gotta have the lid, you gotta have the design for the lid, you have to have the bowl, and you have to have the underplate. So when you put it all together, it becomes one soup tureen. But as you can see, that it takes many elements to create this one piece. So it takes a long time. I wanted this one to be really good, so I spent months on it. Months coming up with 5 different pieces, and so far one of them has been vetted and accepted as part of the soundtrack. There's another guy who is doing probably most of the soundtrack, all the gameplay and all the details of it. So I'm going to be composing. The request is that I compose 4 tunes within this big soundtrack, but I've created 5, so that we'll see what happens with the 5th. But one specifically has already been accepted, and we are in the process of orchestrating that live with the Heroes Orchestra. So it's a difficult process to go from my studio here in Los Angeles and doing the recording and getting the notes, and then transferring it to an orchestra in Europe and having them duplicate it, because it's different. Things get changed in the translation. So this is a new experience for me to do it this way. But before, I would just do the soundtrack, and I would be the orchestra using my hands and the computer. And what you heard sounded like an orchestra, but it was just me playing all the parts. So that's where we're at. It's not. A lot of times I'll get these jobs. Oh, we need the music within 2 months, even though they worked on the game for 4 years. But I personally can't do music that quickly, because the music that I write is too complicated, and it's not as easy as just sitting down at the piano coming up with a jingle. It's kind of intricate with many melodies and layers and chord progressions and changes and orchestration changes. So we'll see how this goes. I know we're on a time frame, but definitely we're needing more time. So we'll see how this goes. I think I'm going to meet with. I requested that one of the team members from Unfrozen, most of them live in England or in Spain, I believe. It's a really good idea that one of them come to California with the maestro from Warsaw, and we work together in my studio and do an in-person work session. So hopefully Ubisoft has the budget for that. If you are working on a project for many years, and really half of the experience of a game really can be the music. So I think it's a very vital part, and so hopefully we can all be in the same room together and hammer some of these how we do the music production. So we'll see how that goes. It's a little tentative. Everybody's on board, but as you actually begin to create it, you realize there's a lot more needed, which is a lot in-person contact between me and the orchestrator and the conductor. and also Unfrozen team too, because they probably should be in the studio with me at my house and with the conductor and listening to all of this and see how they feel, rather than, because right now we do a lot of file sharing and there's no contact. So so this is a little unusual for me, but anyway, we'll see how that goes. But I think the music that I so far have done for Unfrozen is some of my favorite, actually. It sounds fantastic on the piano, and whether it gets used or not, if it doesn't get used, I'll use it for another project. Even just as orchestral music, doesn't have to be attached to a game, because the music kind of stands alone. So I'm very happy with it. They so far have accepted one piece, so I think they like one out of all those five. So we'll see what happens to the other four.